A question that we should all ask ourselves is, what is the purpose of school? Why does school exist? And for us as a school, that's our mission. We recognize the reality of the world we live in. We live in a world that needs creative thinking to solve complex problems. We live in a world that needs international mindedness to get beyond some of the conflicts and challenges that we deal with as a society. We need a world that's focused on personal excellence, giving opportunities for students to really shine and feel a deep sense of belonging in the school. And so that's our purpose, is to inspire that kind of learning. It's not just because we believe in those things, it's because we recognize a pragmatic reality that that kind of learning is required in the world we live in today. The traditional way maybe that we went to school, the world has moved on. The pace of change has accelerated beyond any of our wildest dreams. So what are the skills and understandings that students need to be successful in the world as it is now, not the world as it was then? When you think about NIS, you should think about IB. We were the first continuum school in mainland China. What that means is that we have a primary years program, a middle years program, and a diploma program. So a school that has been completely dedicated to the ideals of the IB for longer than really any school in China. That really means that we're a school that has a bigger purpose. We're a school that believes that students learn best when they're inspired, and what that means is that they have autonomy over their learning, they seek mastery of very specific skills, and that they have a purpose. And IB helps us have a clear purpose around learning, which is preparing students for the world they live in and the world that they will inherit as adults. We know that students learn best when they feel safe, when they feel supported, when they feel known, when they feel as though they belong. And so that sense of safety and belonging is really at the core of our program. We recognize that everyone learns differently. So we define learning as a personal process that creates new understandings and skills. So you can't learn unless something is new. In other words, you're learning new about something you already know, or you're learning something completely new. It's about the application of that understanding and skill. It's not enough just to learn it and regurgitate it. It's much, much more important to be able to apply that. And at NIS, we want to apply those in the classroom, but equally important is the application outside the classroom. And that's why we have such a rich and robust co-curricular program. That's why we have a service program. That's why we have a Discover China program. We put a lot of time and resources into creating those opportunities for students to apply what they've learned outside the classroom as well. And for us, that creates kind of a holistic approach to education that I think sets us apart. Being an independent nonprofit international school means that we're not tied to any one national curriculum, and we're able to really draw on the best, most advanced student learning outcomes and standard progressions from around the world, and then tailor those to the context of the school. So that's a really exciting part about working here, is that we're not stuck in a sort of lockstep national program. We're able to really draw the best and brightest from around the world to help support student learning. I think traditional models have really focused on kind of lower levels of learning, where there's memorization, recall, and move on to the next thing. But often that learning, although it might be challenging in terms of the amount of work, might not be so challenging in terms of application in the real world. And without that application, real authentic learning can't take place. So for us, we recognize that fact and really try to design inquiry throughout the school so that students are learning and acquiring those skills together, so that when they enter university, the workforce, that they've had years and years of practice with those kind of higher order, higher level thinking skills. Both the PYP, MYP, and DP to some extent anchor in inquiry. And so I think that's something that, as a prospective parent to the school, it can be hard to sort of understand, how does inquiry, how does the idea of seeking to learn, to ask questions, how does that translate into learning knowledge and skills? One thing to think about with this is that we're a continuum school. So the process of learning isn't achieved in a day or a week or a month or a year. Learning starts when we're born and goes on until the end. And so for us, what that means is that we carefully kind of craft a progression of learning based on very specific student learning outcomes. So our written curriculum is a series of hundreds of very specific student learning outcomes that our teachers design learning around, from our 3-year-olds all the way to our 18 or sometimes even 19-year-olds. And the way that process works is it's a progression of learning that is subject specific. In the primary years program and in our early years program, sometimes it doesn't look as subject specific because it's all integrated into what we call units of inquiry, which are part of a bigger program called our program of inquiry. So we look at the individual unit and think about what are those discrete skills and understandings that students must have to build that learning over time. So this starts with our 3-year-olds and this moves all the way through. As a new parent, you need not look farther than our graduates. Our alumni are absolutely wonderful. The outcomes that they achieve, both in terms of university acceptance, but also finding those best fit universities or those best fit roles in the job market when they come out of NIS. That's our product, and it's a product that we're really, really proud of. So our parents feel very positive about that. They feel as though when their students leave the school, they are well prepared for their next step.